War is often remembered for its guns, its battles, and its explosions. But there is another kind of war that few ever see. A war fought with illusions, creativity, deception, and silence. Today, we uncover the unbelievable true story of a secret U.S. Army unit that helped win World War II, not with bullets, but with imagination. This is the story of the Ghost Army. The year was 1944. The world was burning. Hitler's armies still controlled most of Europe. The Allies, preparing for a massive push after D-Day, needed every advantage. But success demanded more than strength. It required strategy. And so, on January 20th, 1944, the United States Army quietly activated a secret unit, the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops. This unit contained just 1,100 men, but on the battlefield, they would pretend to be 30,000. Their mission? To fool the enemy into believing in armies that didn't exist, to fake attacks that were never planned, to move divisions that were actually motionless. Unlike any other military unit, the Ghost Army was filled not with hardened combat veterans, but with artists, painters, sculptors, sound engineers, set designers, actors, advertising experts. Some would later become famous. Bill Blass, who became a world-renowned fashion designer, Art Kane, one day a legendary photographer, and Ellsworth Kelly, future sculptor of global fame. They trained not to destroy, but to deceive. Their gift was creativity, and now it would become a weapon. The Ghost Army combined 4 major deception tools: visual deception using inflatable tanks and fake camps, audio deception using powerful speakers to simulate troop and tank movement, radio deception sending false messages to confuse German intelligence, theater deception using costume officers and scripted behavior to spread misinformation. The visual deception team could create a complete fake army in hours. Dozens of life-sized inflatable Sherman tanks, anti-aircraft guns, and jeeps, realistic from the sky, convincing from a distance. They painted shadows, added fake tire tracks in the mud, and arranged tents to look lived in. To enemy aircraft watching from above, the scene was perfect. The sonic team used recordings of real armored divisions moving, engines roaring, metal clashing, soldiers shouting. Played through speakers powerful enough to project more than 20 kilometers, the enemy believed forces were gathering. Even radio messages were scripted like theater, complete with fake officers speaking in extremely realistic code. And sometimes, they themselves dressed as generals and wandered around towns to spread rumors. A performance that could change the direction of war. In June 1944, just weeks after D-Day, the Ghost Army arrived in France. Their job was to protect the advancing Allied troops by confusing the Germans about where the next attack would be. Their early missions were small, but risky. They set up fake artillery and vehicles outside towns like Brest and Saint-Lô to draw German fire that might have killed real soldiers. And it worked. The enemy redirected troops to locations that did not matter, allowing the real American divisions to advance. But deception came with danger. If discovered, they would be executed on the spot, considered spies, not soldiers. In March 1945, Germany was collapsing, but resistance was fierce. The Rhine River, the last great natural barrier, stood between Allied armies and victory. The Ghost Army was given the most daring assignment yet: mislead German intelligence into believing the main Allied crossing would happen north of the real attack point. Over 10 days, they created the illusion of 2 full divisions, the 30th and 79th. Inflatable tanks covered fields. Trucks with loudspeakers rolled day and night. Fake roadblocks appeared. Fake radio networks buzzed constantly. German scouts saw everything, they heard everything, and they believed everything. German forces moved north, leaving the real crossing point lightly defended. Operation Plunder succeeded. Thousands of lives were saved, and the Ghost Army disappeared silently into the night, leaving only footprints in the mud. Not every mission ended safely. The Ghost Army came under direct fire several times. In one brutal attack, 2 soldiers died and 15 were wounded while protecting a deception site. They could not fight back. They could only hope the illusion held. War is not only fought by those who kill, but also by those who protect. When the war ended, the Ghost Army returned home quietly. Their work was classified for nearly 50 years. Families never knew what their sons had done. The world never heard their story. Only in the mid-1990s did the files open, and historians realized the enormous scale of their contribution. Experts estimate that the Ghost Army may have saved between 15,000 and 30,000 lives. Their creativity changed the war, and perhaps even changed history itself. In March 2024, after decades in the shadows, surviving members of the Ghost Army were finally honored with the Congressional Gold Medal, one of America's highest awards. An award not for destroying, but for saving, not for taking lives, but for protecting them. The Ghost Army reminds us that sometimes the greatest weapons are imagination, courage, and the desire to protect human life. Their tanks were rubber, their trucks were wooden, their guns were fake, but their bravery was real. This was the story of the Ghost Army, the soldiers who fought with illusion instead of bullets, a secret force whose name the world almost forgot. Their legacy will remind us forever that war is not always what it seems.